Hello everyone, I'm Saeha with Sustainable Future Hub. We explore insight from professionals in business, academia, and government related sustainability. Today, we have an amazing guest, Dr. Eytan Tepper. Woo! Very exciting. He earned a PhD from McGill University Institute of Air and Space Law. He is a research professor, space governance and security, and the director of the Space Governance Lab at Indiana University Bloomington. We're just so excited to have you today. How did you get involved with the space law?
Hello, thank you for having me. Um, I got into space law later in my career. I was an international trade lawyer who never practiced space law and honestly never knew that there is such a thing as a space law. But in recent years, we have seen the rise of the commercial space sector that is gradually basically taking the lead almost from the national space agencies. And when I saw that, I started to take interest because I realized that space is will no longer be just the domain of the superpowers, but it will be part of our everyday life. And I started to inquire if there are laws that apply in outer space. And then when I did the reading, the more that I did the reading, I found it very fascinating, and I decided to focus all my attention on space law.
Wow. Then could I ask you what brought you into the law industry?
Yes. So I think there are two main events that brought me to the legal career path. The first was in high school we had the Talmud lessons. Talmud is basically Jewish law.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoyed those lessons and the discussions and the argument about rules, what rules should we adopt and what rules we should reject. That was the first thing. And then the second thing, a few years later, I lived in a kibbutz, and I was working in the banana plantation. And as I was working the row of the bananas, there was another working who was working parallel with me. And he was at the time he was at law school. So as we were walking down the row of the bananas, working on the banana trees, I asked him questions about law school, and he told me about all the issues that he is learning, and we would start also to debate and discuss them, and it was basically so enjoying that I decided that this is what is right for me.
Wow. So you explored your special industry and then high niche in the nature, in the banana plantation. I love this. Wow.
I think nature is a very good environment for this. When we go about our daily life in the city, our mind is preoccupied with many things. But when you are in nature and when you are doing physical work, your mind is free and open to think of other things. And in my case, it led me eventually to law and years later to space law.
Wow. That's also one great thing about IU. That IU is one of the beautiful campus in the U.S. And then just as a student, I enjoyed a lot of nature, a lot of walking definitely, a lot of me to think a lot about like major career path, like what I'm gonna do with my life. So it was definitely a fantastic time at IU, and I really love squirrels too. That's a good part. Um,
It is a very lovely campus here.
I absolutely enjoying this campus. So like Dan, is there a law in space? So what is space law?
So actually, there are laws that apply to outer space activities. There are five international treaties that were negotiated through the UN. The most important of them is the Outer Space Treaty from 1967 that I see it as the kind of a constitution of outer space because it provides the basic norms and principles that apply to all the activities that we do in outer space. And like a constitution, it's not detailed, it is a bit vague, and there is a lot of debate on its interpretation. But it is widely accepted, also similar to a constitution. So around almost 130 countries joined the Outer Space Treaty. All the spacefaring nations joined the Outer Space Treaty except North Korea. So this is on the international level. Also on the international level, we have the UN Committee on the Peaceful Issues of Outer Space, which in which all those treaties were discussed, and there is also a dedicated UN Office of Outer Space Affairs. In addition to that, on the national level, many countries have their own space legislation, including the US. We have acts of Congress, but we also have all sorts of regulations, for example, by the FCC and the FAA.
What would be the connection between space and sustainability?
So there are two key ways that we can see between space and sustainability. One of them is sustainability of the outer space environment. Since the launch of the first artificial satellite in 1957, that was Sputnik 1, launched by the Soviet Union, we have emitted a lot of debris in outer space. It's all sorts of old gas tanks and defunct satellites and pieces. Basically, everything is still there, no one is cleaning there. And over the year, Earth's orbit became congested with many pieces of debris, which threatened to harm satellites in orbit, and there were already a few cases of collision between a satellite and a piece of a space debris that caused harm. In the long run, if we don't take care of it, it can even block our way to outer space. The other context which we can look about space and sustainability is how we can utilize space application to help sustainability on Earth. So, for example, we can use remote sensing to locate places on Earth which are polluted, and then we can address the pollution in those areas.
Like I do not believe a lot of public knows that our space is already occupied with a lot of artificial satellites. Space is not clean anymore because of us. Wow. The next one is kind of fun question. I see a lot of business that sells planet star that people even can name. So people believe that they can maybe build a house in the future because it's kind of they think it's their property. So is there any legal basis about this situation?
So actually, there is no legal basis for it. The Outer Space Treaty provides that no country can have sovereignty in outer space. There is a debate on the proper interpretation of this article, but it is widely accepted that you cannot have land on a celestial body as private property. So all those companies that you can find on the internet that are selling plots on the moon don't really have the authority to do so. And there was even a case about it in the Beijing district court.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So there was a Chinese company who was also selling land on the moon, and Beijing government decided to close this business because it is basically fraudulent. The company appealed, and the Beijing District Court, after considering the Outer Space Treaty, decided that due to the provisions of the Outer Space Treaty, the company cannot really send land on the moon, and therefore it is fraudulent, and it sustained the measures of the Beijing government. So, legally speaking, you cannot buy land on the moon, but it could be a nice romantic gesture if you don't pay too much money and you get a nice certificate that you can give to your loved one. That could be nice, just as long as you know that you will not be able to really build a house on the moon later on.
Thank you for the clarification. Everyone, remember that you can show your love, but definitely buying Star Planet is not an investment.
Exactly.
Are there any legal protection for space and moon resources?
So the utilization or exploitation of outer space resources is a highly debated issue, basically since the signing of the Outer Space Treaty. It is widely accepted that the mere utilization of space resources is allowed. The major debate is if countries can do them on their own, or they need to have permission or coordination with some kind of international body or international framework. This debate has not been decided yet, but as the legal situation is developing into, it seems to be going in the way that outer space will be open access, meaning that countries who will be interested and will have the capabilities to use the space resources will be able to utilize them even without permission or a license from an international body.
Very insightful. I guess that's all questions that I have for now. Thank you so much for sharing your insights into the connection of space law and sustainability. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about the work that I love.
Definitely. Bye.